Well, the Vatican has accommodated the request of certain Muslims to have a place allocated to them in Vatican City, namely the Vatican Library, for Islamic prayer and a Muslim prayer carpet to be established as a liturgical space, prayer space for them in Vatican City. And there's two things that concern me on this. The first is the optics of it. We have been begging, groveling, saying, please, can we have our traditional Latin Mass on Sunday at 2 p.m.? And over, we've seen that request denied, or where it did exist, it's been taken away. And the reason for that is we need unity. We need everyone to be the same. And yet Muslims who deny the New Testament, deny the 21 ecumenical councils, deny the divinity of Christ, deny the Trinity, they make a request and they receive it. The optics of that, I'll just be frank, it's hurtful. We feel like the disregarded stepchild, the Cinderella in the Catholic Church. We want to be faithful. We want to attend Holy Mass every Sunday, every day, pray the Rosary, obey the teachings of the Church, submit to the Holy Father, Pope Leo XIV, have large families, obey the teaching on contraception, all of these things, hard teachings, many of them hard, but also sources of great joy. And we're told and we're made to feel that we don't count, that we are less, that we don't matter. That's how it feels. And Muslims who deny Jesus, they make a request, they get the request. So that's the first thing, it's the optics. And then secondly, we live in a time, in particular for Europe, where there is mass immigration of Muslims. In the United States, like Dearborn, Michigan, but in Europe, particularly places like London, Paris, even places in Italy, where there's a massive amount of Islamic immigration. And if you look at birth rates, and I've been talking about this for a while, Muslims can and will, unless something changed, surpass the Catholic population and end up buying our churches, taking over our neighborhoods. And I see it in North Texas where I live. You know, we have 2 or 3 places where you can find the traditional Latin Mass, but there's 100 mosques that surround us. New mosques going up every single day. And so the signal from the Catholic Church, from the Vatican, you know, even from Pope Francis and maybe now Pope Leo is, we are in favor of this. We will accommodate Islam. And it looks like Islam is the future, and there's no pushback or there's no encouragement for the Catholics and the Catholic Church in our homelands. Those are my 2 concerns, and we're going to discuss those today. I've been getting over a chest cold. You probably remember early this week, I kind of started losing my voice during the podcast. That was the onset. I've been battling it ever since. Here is a tweet that I want to feature. This is from a deacon, Nick Donnelly. He says, now the Vatican is providing prayer room for Muslims. Haven't they read what the Quran says about our most holy doctrines? Their insults about the most holy Trinity, the Incarnation, our Lord's redemptive death on the cross. Don't they know about the systematic persecution in places like Nigeria, Africa, other places in the world? It's 2 things. It's the optics. And the other thing is, from the point of view of Islam, y'all heard me say for years, we have to take up space. And I've been talking, it's a whole chapter in my book, Christian Patriot, if you don't have it already. But strategy number 2 is take up space. That is, we Christians, we Catholics need to publicly demonstrate that we exist. Eucharistic processions, Marian processions, corner images of the Blessed Virgin Mary, crucifixes, crosses in public. Islam has the same agenda. They want total world domination, and they just like, you give the devil an inch and he takes a mile. You give him a foothold. Islam symbolically wants to take over Christian places. That's why Islam, for 700 years, tried to take the city of Constantinople. It signified Christendom in the East. By conquering Constantinople in 1453, it gave a huge boost of morale to Islam because it showed that Islam is overtaking Christianity. And the very first thing they did when they stormed the walls of Constantinople is they declared the Cathedral of Hagia Sophia as a mosque and began to paint over and destroy the Christian images and fit it out to be a mosque. This is what they want to do. So by granting them a prayer space in the Vatican, you are encouraging them, you are increasing morale. They now have a foothold in Vatican City, which is a sovereign state. The Vatican City is a sovereign state. It is the reduced, tiny piece of the papal states. And now when they go to study the ancient Qurans that we have in the Vatican Museum, they now have an outpost. So those are two concerns. First off, traditional Catholics over and over are treated like they're not loved. There was the Elemento GPT pilgrimage in Rome this year, about a month or so ago. They had their flags, their banners, their posters, everything Elemento P for that lifestyle. It was welcomed. It was encouraged. They were given the Jesu. They had Mass. And then, just to show a counterpoint, the SSPX had a pilgrimage and they were scrubbed from the schedule like it didn't exist. It sends a message, like we're getting the message. You don't love us. You don't want us. The traditional Latin Mass, traditional Catholics are the disregarded stepchildren, the Cinderellas. And all the other agendas, whether it's Islam, other world religions, the Elemento P agenda, pro-abortion senators in the United States of America, they will be honored. They will be given awards. The red carpet will be rolled out for them. The Muslim prayer carpet will be rolled out for them. But we will not receive that. And as I thought about it, I said, it's kind of like being in a difficult marriage. You're in a real valid marriage. You're in a real covenant with a person. And they disregard you. As a Catholic, you can't get a divorce and remarry. As a Catholic, I can't leave the Catholic Church and join a new Catholic Church because there's only one Catholic Church. There's only one Pope. There's only one Apostolic See. I'm going to remain in communion. I'm not going anywhere. I just kind of know at the end of the day, I'm disregarded. You, me, we're disregarded. We're second class. And we just have to accept that. Maybe that is the path of sanctification for us. We'll be called names. We'll be called rigid. We'll be pushed away. We'll lose our liturgical rites, the Mass we love. But the Muslims will get their thing, and the LGBT MNLPs will get their thing, and the Hindus will get their thing, the Jews will get their thing. But we won't at the moment. It's sad. It's a bitter pill. It's a bitter pill, but we're not leaving. Now, we do have great vocations rates. We do have great birth rates. But at the end of the day, there's no reprieve. And that's the rub. That's the difficulty. Going to honor today's sponsor before we go in this. I'll talk a little bit more, and then I'll open up the question and answer as long as my voice holds up. And today's sponsor is Pure Health Research with the Liver Health Formula. You've heard me say it before, your Liver is under attack. We often feel weighed down, struggle to get throughout the day. And the most likely culprit is an overworked liver because you have processed foods, environmental toxins, GMOs, fluoride, microplastics, alcohol. All this takes a serious toll on your body, and your liver is that filter. And over 100 million Americans suffer from an overworked liver, according to the American Liver Foundation. That's 1 in every 3 people. So I recommend the liver health formula from Pure Health Research. It contains 11 powerful and clinically proven natural ingredients to detoxify and rejuvenate your liver so that you experience more energy and a optimized metabolism, which is something that we all want. So they have a special offer for my audience. And if you go to purehealthresearch.com and you use promo code Taylor, Taylor, you get 35% off. You can use the QR code on the screen or the link in the show notes, purehealthresearch.com, and get the liver health formula. Reclaim your vitality and get a more vibrant, healthy liver. You'll see it in your skin. You'll see it in your digestion. You'll see it in your overall energy. purehealthresearch.com, discount code Taylor, Taylor. Also want to remind everyone, if you're looking to sell your home, move to a different part of the country, I recommend you go to realestateforlife.org. They can set you up with a real estate agent where you live or where you want to go. And these are people that understand you, understand the communities that we want to live in. So visit realestateforlife.org. If you need a real estate agent, they will plug you in and you'll be ready to go. All right, in the opening, I discussed the optics and where are we in 2025. I sense that the wait and see, let's be optimistic, let's hope for the best under Pope Leo XIV. I'm trying to keep it going. You know, every morning at my sink, I got my bottle of white pills and I'm taking the white pills and trying to be encouraged. But we just saw another appointment to the Archbishopric of Vienna, a priest who has openly said we need women's ordination. So he's been elevated to a diocese that usually comes with a cardinal's hat. And, you know, these things over time, they're discouraging. They're discouraging. And it feels like the only way to get ahead or to be recognized in the Catholic Church this year and in the years past is be very much into environmentalism, support the diversity, LMNOP, LG community, be very much focused on what seems to be unlimited immigration. And yeah, I mean, that does that sum it up? That seems to be the people who are getting promoted. These are the issues that seem to matter the most. And if you are into large families, if you're into traditional liturgy, traditional religious life, Latin, preservation of Latin, even though it's in Vatican II, those kind of things, you know, not a lot of room for you at the table. You know, the Synod of Synodality, I haven't seen our people there. You know, it doesn't seem that those voices are heard, and it seems like they don't want to hear those voices. And it's discouraging. All right, so that's the first thing. And then before I go to your comments, the second thing is Islam. And if you look at the demographics, in my lifetime, Islam will surpass the size of Catholicism for the first time. They're growing. They are taking up space in Canada, in the United States of America, in Europe. They seem to be positioned to be the heirs of the West. And this time around, they're not using the sword so far. They're using state welfare, and they're using birth rates. Muhammad and his wife and your community will have 4 kids or 5 kids or 6 kids, while your, everyday American person will have 1 kid or no kids or maybe 2 children. And they're in the ascendancy. And so when I look at these, these examples of what's going on at the Vatican, I think to myself, what's the reason for this? Are European bishops and cardinals, have they already thrown in the towel? Do they know deep down Islam is going to take over Europe, just like Islam took over the Middle East and North Africa and parts of Eastern Europe? And so we might as well be nice to them? Is that the thinking? Why all the push and the love for Islam? Question mark. I want to know in your comments, your questions, why is that? Why does Islam get a pass by the Catholic bishops and cardinals and now Pope Leo XIV? When we have a whole growing community of people who very much want to live a Catholic lifestyle. People who very much want their sons to be priests and their daughters to be nuns and to have large families and to attend Mass every day and to pray the rosary every day. Those people somehow are treated as suspicious, and meanwhile, Islam is given the green light. Is it because they've already conceded defeat? Why is that? All right, so I'm going to go to your comments and questions. I can feel my voice. It's getting a little bit weaker, but we're going to keep going here. Before I do, though, I want to remind you all that this Tuesday, wrong slide, this Tuesday, I will be, here it is. Show it. Wrong slide, there it is. This Tuesday, I will be hosting a webinar, live Catholic webinar, Angels and Demons, 9 Secrets Exorcists Want You to Know. We'll talk about spiritual warfare. We'll talk about the prayers and devotions that exorcists recommend. The idea here is not just to get down into the nitty-gritty about exorcisms, which everybody loves, but instead to look at prevention in spiritual warfare and living under the banner of Christ, under the blood of Jesus Christ and the cross of Jesus Christ, in devotion to Mary, St. Michael the Archangel, and the holy apostles. Exorcists have given us a lot of information on how to prevent not just possession, but intervention in your life. And so we're going to talk about that. There's going to be a lot of energy. I'll be giving away a free booklet of great prayers, protective prayers that Catholics have used and can use. It's a free Catholic webinar, but you do need to sign up. So click the link in the show notes here on YouTube below me. It says Catholic webinar, what exorcist wants you to know. It's totally free, but you do need to reserve your spot. Hundreds and hundreds have already signed up. So please reserve your spot. We'll be going live Tuesday night. And I think it's also a great moment to cover these things as we move into Halloween. All right. A lot of people get into horror films and occult practices and Ouija boards and all kinds of weird stuff that we absolutely need to avoid. So I think it's a great moment this time of year to look at what exorcists are telling us about how not to get the demonic in your lives. Not just in possession, but in more general ways. So sign up for that Catholic webinar. The link is in the show notes below. Angels and Demons, 9 Secrets Exorcists Want You to Know. I'd love for you to be there. It's free. I've got resources for you, and it's going to be awesome. Also, if you'd like to go on pilgrimage with Joy and myself, you can sign up for our pilgrimage to Rome and the Holy Land. It's February 9 through 19th. We're going to be going. This is a traditional Latin Mass pilgrimage. We'll be praying the Rosary every day. We'll be having Latin Mass. And this is a devotional pilgrimage. We'll be going to Monte Cassino, where St. Benedict set up his monastery. We'll go see Padre Pio. We'll go to Lanciano and see the Eucharistic miracle. There's an extension. We'll go to Venice and Florence. We will be there during Valentine's Day on February 14th, and we will go to the church in Rome that contains the skull of St. Valentine, and it'll be a special romantic moment in Roma before the skull of St. Valentine on Valentine's Day. Joy and I will be there. We're going to ask for like a nuptial blessing or something like that, and anyone with us can ask for that as well. It's a uniquely Catholic moment. I think it'll be cool. So if you'd like to join us, reserve your spot. This pilgrimage will sell out. Every pilgrimage I've done always gets filled up. You can click on the link below, or you can go to taylormarshall.com/Rome, ROME, taylormarshall.com/Rome. I'm going to go to your comments and to your questions. We got some super chats. Heart Ponder says, they have the buildings, but we have the faith. St. Athanasius. Yeah, this happened in the 300s. They say the majority of bishops fell for the Arian heresy. That is, they believed that Jesus was created by the Father, was not co-equal with the Father, was not consubstantial with the Father, homoousia. And what happened is there was many lay people who realized, hey, my bishop is denying that Jesus is fully God. And those bishops may have held the cathedrals or the churches. So they said, Athanasius said, they might own the churches, but we have the faith. And so I think, whether you feel excluded, whether you feel like the disregarded, stepchild that doesn't get the equal love, at the end of the day, the most important thing is you have the faith. You believe the one true Catholic faith. And having faith and also living the life of Catholic action, of Catholic faith and works, you're caring for the poor, you're clothing the naked, you're feeding the hungry, you're giving drink to the thirsty, everything in Matthew 25. If you have the true faith and you're doing the acts of mercy, spiritual and corporal acts of mercy, that is the path of salvation, and we're strengthened by the sacraments. So even if you feel like you don't have a seat at the table, maybe that's what I'm kind of starting to figure out. Maybe that's just God's path of sanctification. Just a little extra burden in 2025 or 2026. Thank you, Hart, for the super chat. Appreciate it. Nathaniel Roberts says, Catechism of the Catholic Church 841. I don't have one here next to me, so I can't look it up. I apologize. Another super chat from Gene. If the church continues to make these disappointing decisions, do you foresee another schism? What do we say to those who are very disheartened by all the recent news coming out of the Vatican? Well, I'm not going to go in a schism. I believe that I have a divine call and duty to remain in communion with the Apostolic See, which is the Roman See, the Roman diocese. And we have to be in communion with the Roman Pontiff, the Holy Father. So I'm not going into schism. Everyone's saying, oh, there's an invisible schism. It's eventually going to erupt. People have been saying that since the 90s. Nothing's happened. It seems every time you have some leaders who have a little bit of following, they're disciplined. They're cut away. So I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know. I think we need to pray every day. We need to fast every day. We don't lose hope. But I've also just sort of accepted that, we're not allowed to sit at the cool table, right? We're excluded. We're excluded in the church. And all the talk about accompaniment and reaching out to the peripheries and everyone's welcome, we're not. We're not. It's obvious at this point, we're not. And I think at this point, I'm not a pope, I'm not a cardinal. There's nothing I can do to change it. If I were invited to the table to make a charitable, patient case, I would do it. Would I be heard? I don't know. I'm not calling for rebellion. I'm not calling for abhorrence. I'm just calling for myself and my family and for you to just be faithful to the church. And if we're treated second class, we're treated second class. No schism. No schism. All right, thanks for that super chat. I'm going to jump over here into the general chat. W.H. Dove says, Muslims, 421,000. Another estimate places the number at 400,000 for Texas. Yeah, Texas is being, I hate to say it, Texas is being overrun by Muslims. They had tried to set up Sharia law in Irving, Texas. Fortunately, that was shot down. Our governor has shot down Sharia law, but what they do is they come in, they get a majority in a township, in a municipal region, and then they immediately try to set up Sharia courts. That's what their religion tells them to do. And yeah, it's becoming a big problem in Texas. It's certainly a big problem in places like Michigan. All right, looking at your comments. Do you really want to be included with those who don't believe in the true faith? I'm reminded of the parable of Christ about the wheat and the cockle, or the wheat and the weeds. The story is told that the Son of God disperses the wheat seeds into the field. And then the enemy, Satan, he comes and distributes seeds of wheat into the field. And when harvest time comes, they notice that there's wheat growing in the field and there's cockle, there's weeds growing together. And the angels say, hey, should we go and pull out all those weeds? And they say, wait for harvest, because you might pull out the wheat when you pull out the cockle. That's the parable. And as a Catholic, I was a Protestant. As a Catholic, I don't expect for everyone in the pews and everyone at the altar and everyone at Vatican City and every archbishop to be a saint. I don't even expect all of them to be Orthodox. I know that's shocking to a lot of people, but throughout the history of the church, Nestorius, he was the Archbishop of Constantinople. He had to be deposed. There is a process by which clergy, even high clergy, have to be first admonished, then disciplined, then removed. So if I were to hold the principle that the church must be pure, I wouldn't be a Catholic, right? I'd be a Puritan. There's a mix in the kingdom. And Christ says there'll be wolves in sheep's clothing. There'll be false brethren. Paul talks about false apostles. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. Let me get my mute on. I don't want to blow your ears out. All right. Hopefully that helped. It's something we experience. Hold on. Here it comes again. Sorry. It says chest cold. I don't know if it's chest cold or allergies, but it's been hitting me a couple days here. Yeah, I don't expect for there to be entire purity in the church. I wish that were the case. I wish it were the case, but I don't think it is the case. And by the way, let me add to that. As I wrote in my book, Infiltration, the immune system of the church is alive, is operative. Sorry, it's coming in. I might have to sign off here. The immune system of the church, which ultimately is the Holy Spirit, does eventually attack the errors and the heresies and remove them, eradicate them from the body of Christ. And actually, I'm dealing with this in my chest. Excuse me. Dealing with this in my chest right now. I trust the process of my immune system to defeat it. And that happens in the church. And for example, look at the Arian crisis. It took almost 100 years. And then in other parts of the church, like in the Ostrogoths and the Visigoths, it lasted even longer than that. So how about go Eastern Orthodox? I'm a Catholic. I don't believe the Eastern Orthodox faith. I'm a Catholic. All right, I'm going to do a couple more because my voice is crashing. I'm sad to say. Oh no, super chat's coming in heavy. All right, I'll try to handle these. Darren, I don't think it's about Islam. It's about stepping down as the one true religion. Leo will be the dude who ushers in the one world religion. He is the religious mouthpiece of the WEF. I don't think it's a world religion. I think it is. I think maybe stepping down Catholicism. There's like a lack of confidence in Catholicism, and therefore, because Catholicism isn't powerful and doesn't, the sacraments can't transform people from their sins, from their pornography, from their adultery, from their idolatry, from their heresy. If you don't believe Catholicism can transform people, like I believe it can transform people, you kind of just say, well, let everybody follow their own religion, their own ideology. Everyone will be okay. Von Balthazar. Simon Cooper, very discouraging. How do we as faithful Catholics bring Western civilization to its senses when the Catholic hierarchy seems to have lost faith? I think we just have to live our vocation. I can't live the cardinal's vocation. I can't live the bishop's vocation. I can live Catholic father vocation, and that's about all we can do. Sean's Catholic Quest, the letter from the pastor in the Basilica in Chattanooga said the removal of the traditional Latin Mass was ordered from a letter by Cardinal Roche. Do you think the Cardinal is acting rogue, or is this direction is unfortunately coming from Pope Leo? I covered that in my show on Tuesday, I believe. I think at this point, my suspicion, I don't know infallibly, I could be totally wrong, and I hope I am wrong. But for my show on Tuesday, I think all the arrows are pointing to Pope Leo the 14th is on board with the liturgical reforms of Pope Francis. I think he agrees with Pope Francis, and his solution is, one moment, his solution is, if you want Latin Mass, just say the Novus Ordo in Latin. That's the extent of it. That's kind of what I've seen him say, and the actions that are coming from the bishops that he's appointed are saying the same thing. So it seems to be, at this point, a united chorus from Leo, from the bishops he's appointed, from Cardinal Roche, that this is the way they see the way forward. And I find that hard to accept. I find it troubling. But I have to keep on and be in communion with the Apostolic See and keep praying. Nathaniel Robert, Catechism of the Catholic Church, 841. Please look online. I appreciate your thoughts. I'm sorry, Nathaniel, I can't open Windows right now and search through the Catechism and find it. If you can post it, that would be awesome. But I'm not in a place to do that at the moment. All right. Well, my voice is, I made it 33 minutes. I was hoping to make it 30 minutes. I can definitely feel it in my chest. So I'm going to sign off. But I want to encourage everybody. I got to rest up. We're going to have an amazing Catholic webinar this Tuesday. Please, in the show notes, Angels and Demons, 9 Secrets Exorcists Want You to Know. It's totally free. I'm going to give you lots of resources, lots of energy, lots of encouragement. Remember, our battle is not with flesh and blood. It's not with cardinals and popes, ultimately, or even Muslims, or Hindus, or Jews, or atheists. Our battle in this world is against the preternatural forces, the demonic, Satan and his minions. So that's what we're going to be talking about, spiritual warfare. Click on the link below, sign up, Catholic webinar, Angels and Demons, 9 Secrets Exorcists Want You to Know. I'd love to see you there. Please sign up. And of course, if you want to come on the pilgrimage, click on the link below and reserve your spot. You can reserve it at this moment, and I would encourage you to reserve it because the pilgrimage will fill up. It's going to be an amazing traditional Latin Mass pilgrimage in Rome and throughout all of Italy. All right, pray your rosary every day. Find a reverent liturgy. Check out the traditional Latin Mass. Try it 4 times. And pray for our church. Pray for our Holy Father. Pray for our leadership. Be a saint. Be a saint. Pray the rosary every day. You're on the team. And until next time, remember, our Lord Jesus Christ is, you're the light of the world and the salt of the earth. So go out there and be salty. God bless. Godspeed. Apologize for not going the full hour. I'm just losing it in the voice. I'm going to rest up and I'll be back. Thanks for the prayers.